Hello. Oh, might have been a little bit of lag on the mic there. All right. How are we feeling, guys? Let's check that. I'm doing great. I'm doing great. Thank you. I feel like I say this every week, but taking it easy on the weekend and then coming back, I'm always excited to get back in the charts, and I'm very happy to open my charts on a day like today, right? Just reviewing, looking at what will be how basically what we expect from price, right? Moving forward, it just makes me happy. Getting back to what we do. Yes, sir. And especially now, I mean, these monthly outlooks is something I started back in February, and this is definitely going to continue moving forward because it's just so easy. We've had 100% accuracy up till now, right? The only month where we basically expected the low to form a little earlier, and it formed 2 days after. I mean, shit. I don't know what to say here. I just love these monthly outlooks, utilizing data, utilizing statistics. I did not expect this level of consistency on such a large period of time, right? When we started these, I told all of you guys, I told everyone, I said, I have no clue if this will work, right? Because I've never tested it. And what's the best way to test it than on live markets, and especially in unsure conditions as we got? And it just works great, right? It really, how can I say this? It really confirms that statistics and statistical data can be used in any sorts of market conditions. So, of course, I'm pretty hyped up, pretty excited. We did start the month of May on the previous week, right? On Thursday and Friday, we started May. But as we discussed in that weekly outlook, we were going to wait until, today, I guess, to do the monthly outlook, right? It doesn't matter what happened in the 2 previous days. We don't regard it, but I wanted last week to be all about closing April. And whenever we have half weeks like this is how we're going to do it. Now, please confirm with me that you guys on Discord, you can see Rice statistics currently. Give me a quick thumbs up or something. Awesome. Nice to see you, Nak, by the way. Been a while. Very happy to see you with us. But we're going to keep it simple, right? Well, you guys know me. I don't like to go too in-depth in the filtering for these monthly times. We'll, of course, visit based on the previous entry for sure. But what we're interested in is the month of May, right? I like to use the full period, right? Looking back 20 years here if we're looking specifically on NASDAQ. And what do we see with the month of May? Well, majority of the time we're going to see bullish. Honestly, I don't like to profile direction with only 20 total months in there, right? Through 20 years, 20 months of May. But still some pretty interesting data. Of course, we'll see most often a trending month where we form the low early and we form the high later. But what we're actually interested in is, of course, I always display those levels. There's actually a new indicator coming for Rice Statistics with manual inputs. So for those of you guys that are already pre-firing the question, no, it will not be like Joshua's open, high, low, close mapping indicator. The stat map is a short name for it. It will be based on custom levels, so you can input your own custom levels and have them be automatically plotted. But if we go to the extremes tab, this is where we get the deeper insight, right? And we want to focus on the specifics of, okay, well, I know we have a high probability chance of seeing a bullish month, but if we are to see a bullish month, right, how is it going to form? Well, very simple. We have over 90% chance, well, 85% chance, sorry, of making the high during the first week, the low. So if we are to see a bullish month of May, we should, and I will anticipate that we form the low during the first week. So if we are far away from the opening price of that first week, which by the way starts now, I'm going to be very interested in looking for longs during the entire month. More importantly, because as we see here, week 4 and week 5 are the highest probability of forming the high. What does that tell you? Well, if we are to see a bullish month, we're going to form our low very early, and we're going to keep expanding right up until week 4 and 5, right up until the end. So that is just some very interesting way of saying we're going to see a very trending month if we are to see a bullish month. And if we go look at bearish right here, pretty much the same thing, a little divergence there. We are to see the high during the first week, so definitely we'll go look at our charts after, but definitely interesting to see that with the current price action. The only bit of divergence here is that the low is a lot more spread out, right? So if we are to see a bearish month, we could see a very early high to low and then just consolidation within for the rest of the month. So for the best case scenario, right, we want to see that bullish month, and thankfully our data tells us that that is the majority of time. I like to not refer to, as I said, to 20 entries, but still very interesting. Another thing that I like to do now that it's been added to Rice Statistics is interacting based on the previous month. So if we go look at the month here, we can see that we had a bullish month of April, right? So we don't even have to go more in depth than this, and we can filter based on the previous entry, and we can say that we had a bullish previous month. And as you can see, that is the majority of the data set, right? We had 20 total months of May, and if we look at the months of May where April was bullish, it is 13 of those months, and now we are almost at 70% chance of being bullish. Of course, previous high rate, this is something we had not looked at yet, but if we are to rate the high, we are going to rate it 75% chance during the first week. If you guys are unfamiliar, this has already happened. Actually, you can see it very easily on a monthly chart. It has not happened on ES, but we'll discuss this in a second. As per the low, very low probabilities that will return to the low of April. And I mean, that is very simply reflected in our charts here with that amazing, huge wick that we formed through the volatility of April, right? So we do not expect to go back to those April lows at all. We do not want to see that happen. And if it does, it's going to take more than a month to reverse this move. Well, I don't like to say it will. It should take more than a month to reverse this move. Sorry, guys. Let me mute my phone here. But definitely some very nice price action to confirm our statistical data that we should see higher. We should see higher aggressively, and we should see the low of the month formed very, very early on with an over 75% cumulative probabilities that we are going to see that before week 2. That is using, of course, our specific data of looking at the bullish month of April. We can even go a little lower and say that we did raid. April also did raid, but I feel like that will give us, yeah, see, we only had 1 month where April raided the previous low, and then we had a bullish April. So it's a little harder to use statistical data in that sense. I feel like it's not very useful in my personal opinion, but just having some simple filtering like that, looking at the month of May with a previous month that is bullish, I think this is very, very valuable data, and these levels will 100% be added to my charts for the rest of the month, looking at the average structure of the candle. In case you're unfamiliar, you have the total range here, which is just from high to low. You have the average distribution, which if we see a bullish candle, it's going to be from the open to the high. If we see a bearish candle, it's going to be from the open to the low. Then manipulation, which is that opposite wick. So bearish candle, open to high. If it's a bullish candle, open to low. And the retracement, which is a difference between the distribution and the close. So bullish candle, high to close. Bearish candle, we're going to see the low to the close. So a lot of jibber jabber, I guess is the best way to put it there to explain these levels. But I feel like it's important, and it's nice to see how consistent these levels are. Throughout the years, this is, by the way, percentages. So we're not looking at points, we're looking at percentages movement. I like to do this quite a bit when we look at a large period of time, because a 500-point move 10 years ago is not the same as a 500-point move today, right? So percentages are a lot more weighted based on time. So I like using those quite a bit. We've seen a little bit of volatility here, 2020, 2021, of course. But other than that, and see now with 2023 right here, we actually stabilized, and we don't see 2024 because we have this filtering. Even if we look at the wide range, we had a little spike with COVID of volatility, of course, but pretty standard volatility looking over multiple months. This is something we can also see directly on the seasonality charts. And this is where I really like it, because I can look at both NASDAQ and ES at the same time. Let's bring this guy up. And as you can see, this year has been a little wonky, right? A little crazy. In case you guys don't know, this red line is our year to date. It's been pretty crazy. But see, we've bounced back pretty aggressively from this move. And I do anticipate that we'll go back into seasonality. And this has not yet updated, by the way, the Rice Statistics update. We will see the whole right up until May 1st here. But I want to see seasonality kick back in, right? Basically, I've said this multiple times over. I use seasonality when we are within seasonality. When we expand very aggressively away from that seasonality, we tend to see divergence. But now we're going back towards it. And if we get back in those lines, which are our 10, 15, 5-year all-time averages, which in this case, we are looking at about 20 years of data, I want to see price trend and follow these, kind of like a moving average would, for example, right? I want to see price stay towards these. But with such a hard start to the year, I guess is the best way to put it, with the peak of being down 20% since the open, it's going to be a little rough to get back to these levels of, see, just closing the month of May, we see a 15-year average of 7.25% up on the year. So are we going to get there? I mean, we're down 8% right now. It's going to be a tough one, but definitely some very interesting statistics. What we want to focus on is seeing the bullish month of May, and I want to see the low form very, very early. And if we look at our charts now, which you should be able to see, yes, you are. If we go back to our charts now, it's pretty simple. I like to be on the monthly chart because in this case, we see a very interesting thing, that fair value gap that we formed, right? From our very, very bearish month of March, and followed by a very, very bearish start to the month of April. But we managed to get back all of this movement, 20%, which is simply crazy, guys. We got all of that back. And if we look at our charts from a technical analysis perspective, right? I thought those were go lows, but they are not. We saw a raid on liquidity, right? Whether you want to call this structure, a break of structure, a false swing, whatever. We broke through this level and managed to go back all the way up. This, for me, is a clear sign that we have a higher objective. Now, is that higher objective this fair value gap and we can now look for lower? This is not what I'm looking for. Why? Because of our data. Our data tells me I want to see a bullish month. So what I truly want to see and how I bring that data into my charts is, okay, well, if we see a bullish month, I want to see price close above this gap, forming that inversion fair value gap. And I want to see early on in the week. And this is also why seeing divergence at those highs, right? So as we know and discussed multiple times, when we see candle to candle SMT, right, divergence between two candles, it is simply lower time frame SMT. I believe we could even go in the weekly here. We could not, sadly. But just on a daily perspective, you can see those swing points. That SMT is of no regard for me, right, on a monthly perspective. So very, very straightforward. I want to see price close above this line, which is our monthly fair value gap. And this will give me all the insight I need to look for bullishness. And of course, we have clear objectives at the high. There's no need to look further, right? So very, very simply, this is what I'm going to be looking for the month of May. As per specifically for this week, well, it all depends, right? As we know, if we are to see a bullish month of May, we want to see the low form on the first week, right? So either we hold this low that we already formed on the second, or this week we could use this SMT to open, retrace lower, retest that monthly open, form the actual low of May, and then expand higher later in validating this SMT. I'm not expecting it to hold in any sort of way long term, but it could hold for the week while we go and form a low. Now, how do I engage with this, right? Now that I have all these ideas, how do I transfer them into actual trading frameworks? Well, that's with our news, right? If you guys saw the announcement, we have some high impact news on Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So what does this tell us? Well, when I have news, I expect them to be manipulation. I also expect them to form important points in structure. So the higher probability profiles, I guess the best way to put it, is going to be that we form an important point of structure on Monday and Wednesday, and Thursday following that Wednesday will trend. Now, we do have FOMC on Wednesday, which is a pretty big news, right? So after that, it will be a lot easier to actually frame some trades. But best case scenario, we open, Monday drives price lower, Wednesday with FOMC forms a reversal, we see Thursday continuation, and we see a nice little Friday retracement with no news, or if you like to say, the orange news there. But I do not use this news specifically at all. I don't see any importance. I have the data about the volatility brought, and it is inconsistent volatility, to say the best. So a lot of information was shared here, and I'm definitely going to be looking at the comments on the YouTube, and if you guys have any questions here live in the Discord as well, because it is a lot of information, right? But now that it's been a few months that we do these monthly outlooks, it's a lot easier. I'm a lot more comfortable with it, is the best way to put it. So definitely, with 100% consistency, it's a little hard not to be. But definitely some very nice results that we've seen from this. I will perhaps start implementing these, start showcasing statistical data on the weekly outlooks as well. You guys let me know what you think. But definitely some very, very interesting stuff going on here. Do we have any questions at all? Was pretty quick here, looking at 15 minutes. As I said, a lot of information shared in a small period of time, but some very interesting, some very clear statistical data, right? That tells us exactly what we'll be looking for. I'm going to give you a second to type here. Nah, all good. Awesome. Well, awesome to hear. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I am watching the Miami race right now. So we're going to call it a day here. Of course, it will be available on YouTube with the recording very soon. But thank you all for joining, and we'll see each other tomorrow. Our first price action review of the week. We'll have 3 this week on Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Don't worry, Alex. It will be up in a second. Definitely a quick one today. You guys have a great night. Good luck trading tomorrow. And as I said, we'll see each other tomorrow night. Bye, guys.